Call Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Look, if there's one issue in this last financial year that personifies this government lack of a plan for the future, it has to be their funding cuts to early childhood education. That's right, their funding cuts to early childhood education. And I know that the backbenchers have all been told over there on the National Party benches that they must go out and deny that there have been funding cuts to early childhood education. But look, I just want to invite every single one of those backbench and frontbench members of the National Party to go and visit their local kindergarten, any one of the local kindergartens will do, and find out from them why it is that they are $50,000 less of government funding this year as opposed to last year, or $20,000 or $60,000 or whatever it may be. Because I want those National Party members to go and look those kindergartens in the eye and tell them that they're making it up. Go and look them in the eye, Paul Quinn, and go and tell them that they are making their funding cuts up, because every time I debate this issue with any National Party member, they tell me that there are no funding cuts, so I don't know what the kindergartens are talking about. But look, it's even worse than that, because not only are they in denial about it, but the Prime Minister has demonstrated that he is completely out of touch on this issue.
Order. Order. Now, continue barracking across the House is not acceptable. I'll ask the member to tone it down. You've had a fair go. It's 1-1. Sue Moroney.
Mr Chair, as I was saying, the Prime Minister's absolutely demonstrated that he is so out of touch with ordinary New Zealanders on this issue. He does not understand the cost pressures on families, because he has said on more than one occasion that he would be very surprised if the fees increased for families. In fact, he said on national television that the fees would not be increasing, but he is absolutely wrong. Has he talked, for example, to Gemma Greig, who has said that she will pay an extra $60 per week for her two children, Caden, who's aged 4, and Kelsey, who's aged 21 months, to continue to go to the Redwood Early Childhood Centre? Has he talked to people like Gemma Greig? Well, I'd like to also know, has he spoken to Deborah Bullock, who reports that she has 2 preschoolers who attend the Jury Hills Paulson Park Kindergarten, and her fees are going up by $35 a week. An extra $35 that that family has to try and find from somewhere. Or Lisa Kingsford. Her child goes to Newlands Childcare Centre right here in Wellington. Her 4-year-old daughter Caitlin, an extra $25 per week for that family just to stay still. And they're paying more, but they're getting less. Under that government, they are paying more and getting less, because what many of these early childhood education centres have told Labor in a survey that we did is that they are taking a range of measures to deal with the savage funding cuts from this national government to early childhood education. They are taking a range of measures. So yes, they are doing things that affect the quality of the early childhood education. They are reducing the number of staff. They are reducing the number of qualified staff in particular. They are reducing the children's access to going out on field trips. They are reducing a whole range of things, and they are also having to put fees up. So that leaves New Zealand families in the position, because of the short-sightedness of that government, of paying more and getting less. And that's what's happening in many, many neighbourhoods and communities in New Zealand at the moment. Has the Prime Minister spoken to Megan Ross, who's the manager of the Motu Weka Neighbourhood Early Learning Centre, who was reported as saying that that centre is putting their fees up 50 cents for every hour for every child? And she said that for some families that will mean an additional $30 a week, and $30 a week per child. Now, I don't know if the Prime Minister understands this, but many people who have preschool children don't just have one, they have 2 and sometimes 3 under 5s, because that's the stage of their lives that they are at. They're at the stage where they have young children. So, $30 a week for this, the fees going up at Motueka Neighbourhood Early Learning Centre will be costing some families an extra $60. And Megan Ross goes on to say that it's very significant with the price of petrol going up and food going up, and we know that one of the main causes of food going up was the GST increase from that government over there as well. Megan Ross said everywhere they turn they're getting hit with increases. That's what she said about the families, Mr Chair.
Simaroni.
That's what she said about the families that are using the Motueka Neighbourhood Early Learning Centre in Nelson. And I think that many families from right throughout the country in lots of different neighbourhoods and communities will be able to relate to that statement. Everywhere they turn, they're getting hit with increases under this government. Well, the member wants to know what Labor would do. Well, I thank him for asking that, because Labor has pledged to put the funding back into early childhood education that his government has stripped out, because we get it. On this side of the House, we get it that early childhood education is one of the best investments that we can make in this country's future. Why is that? The member asked. Because he doesn't seem to have read any of the research regarding this. But look, all the research tells us that for every dollar spent in early childhood education, that this country saves up to $17 in the future. And isn't that a great return on investment? Spend $1 on early childhood education, save up to $17 in the future. Perfect investment in the future. But that would require a government that actually had a plan for the future. A government that actually thought more than in front of its own nose. A government that understands about investing in small children and what that means for the future. A government that understands that if you get it right at early childhood education, that you don't have extra remedial education costs in your education system, that you don't have to keep building the prisons that Judith Collins was so proud of before, that you actually don't have to keep spending money in that area if you get it right in this area. And look, it is no mistake that in the budget that the government announced last year, they cut funding to early childhood education and they increased the money being spent on building prisons. Well, New Zealanders can get used to that style of budget if they want to keep this national government in power, because that's exactly what the future is going to look like for this country if we have such a short-sighted government. And they also claim that they had no choice. They say, oh look, we had no choice but to cut the funding to early childhood education. That's when they admit that they've done it. We had no choice because of the recession. Next they're going to start blaming the earthquake, but we'll wait for that one. They said they had to cut it because of the recession. That is utter rubbish. Because what we know is that at the same time that government cut $400 million out of early childhood education, they also gave $9 billion away in tax cuts to just the top 10% of income earners in New Zealand over that same period of time. So doesn't that expose the lack of truth of the statement?
Order. Sorry, the member. No, I'm on my feet. There's a Speaker's ruling 43.1 that says that you can't use the phrase tell the truth. I don't know where it came from, but I'm just warning members not to use that. It's unparliamentary, it leads to disorder. And I don't know where it came from, but I did hear it. Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And look, I am absolutely prepared to tell the truth, because this is from the budget documents. The budget documents tell us that government cut $400 million worth of funding to early childhood education at the same time that they gave away to be precise, $9.1 billion of taxpayer funding to the top 10% of income earners for tax cuts. And that's where the money's gone to for early childhood education. They would have us believe that they've taken the money out of some centres and put it into creating participation in some other areas. Well, let's just explore that for a minute, because the numbers there don't even add up. And the backbenchers need to understand this, because they really are being fed a line by their minister. Because the Ministry of Education website would tell you all of this. $400 million worth of funding cut out of early childhood education in the last financial year. $93 million as opposed to $400 million. $93 million is the plan that they have to boost participation in early childhood education. So there's a discrepancy. They take $400 million out. They're using $93 million of that to actually fund increasing participation. But where's the rest of it gone? Well, I'll tell you where the rest of that's gone. It's gone into helping to fund the $9.1 billion of tax cuts given away, frittered away to the top 10% of wage earners in this country. And yet they did nothing to stimulate economic growth. That's why they said it, they did it. They said, yeah, we are giving it to the wealthy because that's going to stimulate economic growth. And now we know that that never happened. It never happened because before the Christchurch earthquake even happened, that government was already admitting that there was no growth in the economy.
Colin King.
Mr. Chair.